They should just make Mumei the main character. She is without a doubt the coolest thing about Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress. That's right, my friends, this is episode 3 of Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress, a series which continues to impress me with its amazing art style and its really slick action. This episode right here was really good, drama-filled, and it also had some moments which were pretty eye-opening for the series. So at the end of last week's episode, we had Mumei, who had just introduced the concept of a Kabaneri, which is what happens when you're not quite human and you're not quite Kabane. However, you do get some perks. You get super strength, you get an iron heart of badassery. The problem is you are going to have these random cravings every once in a while where you're going to crave blood. That's right. Apparently these Kabaneri need blood to survive, and that definitely comes to a head in this week's episode. But the main story of this week is that all of the survivors are getting ready to head to this brand new station by the name of Kongu-kaku, and everybody on the train does not trust the Kabaneri. And I mean, honestly, can you blame them? Post-apocalyptic world, we're really going to let the infectees on the frickin' train? However, Mumei has definitely demonstrated that despite the fact that they are somewhat half Kabane, they still have their human side. She demonstrates this in a number of cool ways. One, she just ends up getting in their face and being a badass. When she gets right in front of Kurusu the samurai and flicks this like weird bullet right at him that just knocks right away from his gun and slams into the ceiling, that's a cool scene. When she ends up beating the ever-living shit out of frickin' Ikoma, that's a badass scene. Not to mention all of the great training sequences, because basically Mumei has officially appointed Ikoma of being her personal bodyguard. The problem is he needs to toughen up, so she is going to train him personally, and boy does she train him the old school hard way. By kicking his ass. While all of this is going on, all of the other humans have decided that they have to make a stop and repair the train. You remember that one Kabane that slammed into the side and completely destroyed their water tank? They're going to have to repair that in order to power up their steam-powered train. But this is actually really convenient because a lot of the older folks on the train want to have a vigil or a funeral for all of their children and friends and family who've been killed by the Kabane. There's also another group of humans who are trying to round up and try to create a posse so that they can kill the Kabaneri, Mumei, and Ikoma. However, it's not going to be that simple. What's really cool about this episode, too, is we can finally start to care a little bit more about Ikoma's past, because he finally starts to talk about it, and it's very simple. Essentially, in the past, a couple of years ago, the station that he was living in was attacked by the Kabane, and they went right after his sister, who unfortunately was killed right in front of him. And she eventually succumbed to this curse-like virus and transformed into a Kabane herself. He was unfortunately forced to have to kill her, and that's the unfortunate end of that dark chapter of his life. Something that he carries with him throughout the rest of the series, because he has made a vow to never run away from anything, even if it means the death of himself or even his comrades. And that's going to be a driving force in this series. There's also this other little subplot in this episode which frankly is incredibly dark, where there is this one survivor on the train who is this one pregnant mother who looks like she's been afflicted by the Kabane curse. And as the episode goes on, she slowly starts to transition into a Kabane, and by the end of the episode, she's transformed into this full-blown demon, and then Mumei has to come in, take 2 swords from the samurai, jam them right through her heart, finishing her off in this incredibly disturbing scene, because she herself doesn't even realize that she is pregnant. And this scene is all the more melodramatic because earlier we had this scene where Mumei was interacting with the other humans and even playing with these kids, showing that she can be a normal human. That is until she starts to request blood, because Kabaneri love blood. Speaking of bloodthirsty ghouls, there's also Ikoma, who at the end of the episode is finally starting to lose himself to his Kabane side, where his eyes start to turn all red and he starts to crave blood. And he even starts to attack Ayame, getting ready to bite right through her. Is he going to do it? Probably not. She's definitely a main character and has a lot of plot armor on her side. I also see her as a potential love interest for Ikoma as well. I don't really see that with Mumei at all, more of a brother-sister relationship from those two characters. That being said, this was another fantastic episode with a great cliffhanger ending. So what's the rundown? On this week's episode of Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress, this series has got some great style and animation behind it. I could watch Mumei do Ikoma's training all day long. She's absolutely brutal, and the movements of her animation are just so great. She also happens to be an incredibly expressive character, even more so than the previous episodes of the series, and that's a great accomplishment. But one of my favorite things about this series, and it's a very minor thing, is simply just the atmosphere of fire. What I mean by that is that this series manages to do these scenes where everybody's outside in a huge bonfire, and I love the ember effects. They look so cool, and they add so much to an already amazingly atmospheric series. The biggest thing about this episode, of course, is getting to learn that the Kabaneri themselves crave blood. This is going to be a really big problem for both Mumei and Ikoma, because if they end up attacking someone and drinking their blood, this is not going to look good because all of the other humans are not going to allow them on the train anymore. This could possibly lead to both of them actually being thrown off the train or even attacked by some of their former comrades. And hell, in this week's episode, there was this one douchebag and his goons who decided to go after the Kabaneri, but if it wasn't for Ayami actually stopping them, they would have probably been killed in this episode. Well, maybe not Mumei. Mumei's freaking awesome, but I can't really speak for Ikoma quite yet. He still has a lot of growing to do, not only learning how to use his Kabaneri abilities, but also perfecting his brand new kick-ass gun. And I have to say that they did a great job of finally expanding a little bit more on the character of Ayame, who was very much not a damsel in distress in this week's episode. I especially love how she proved that Ikoma is harmless to everyone by literally attacking him with a knife and trying to stab him in the heart. And of course, he's not trying to attack back, he's not trying to bite her, he simply is acting like a human trying to defend himself and not trying to attack Ayame. This is the perfect evidence that he is not going to hurt anyone. Unfortunately, this is all followed by both of them getting completely freaked out and thirsty for blood, so I can't wait to see how they're going to wrap that up. But still, just like the previous episode, my favorite thing about this one is Mumei. She is such a cool frickin' character. Like I said, incredibly expressive, really adorable, but also absolutely horrifying all at the same time. You do not want to meet this chick in a dark alley. She will fuck you up. And so this was another fantastic episode of Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress, an anime series which I predict will end up being one of the most popular from this season. It's going to appeal to those who like zombie shows, steampunk, and just kick-ass anime in general. It also helps that it's got great production value behind it, a great soundtrack, it's very atmospheric, and the characters themselves are very likable. So if you want to see a brand new anime series that is just unique and not just a ripoff of Attack on Titan, which is what I said in my first anime review, and I wish I could take it back, but it's in the history books. This is Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress, and it kicks ass. I'm giving this episode right here a 4 out of 5. A little slow in some moments, but for the most part, this was another fantastic episode of a brand new cool anime series. So check it out, Kabaneri fans. You might see something you like. But if any of you guys did watch this week's episode, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. Do you have a favorite character from the series so far, whether it be Ikoma or Mumei? Why don't you tell me why? And what's the deal with them having to drink blood? How are they going to be able to quell their cravings? And what do you want to see from the rest of Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress? Please tell me in the comment section below. You know what, guys? I just have to say it. You guys are a kick-ass bunch. Thank you for watching this video review. I really appreciate it. If you would like to help support the channel, please share this video review with all of your friends. And if you would like to, please subscribe to the channel. That way you'll be able to see all of our latest anime and manga reviews and our weekly podcast show as it is released. You guys can also follow us on social media. There will be links for all that stuff in the description box below. So thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!